All right. Yo, what's up, everybody? We're here. It's finally time at long last. There we go. Let me kill the music here, the scary music. All right. I'm going to put on some actually low beats right now. Just some low, chill, relaxing music vibes. Just while there be a technically fall festive ones for us so we can relax to this while we chat. Okay, so there we go. So hi everyone, my name, as you know, is Dylan, aka CTG. I am here with one of my best friends in the whole wide world, one of my closest buddies that I went to high school with. His name is Sam, aka Chillstorm. Say hi, Sam. You're good. Oh, you're good to go.
Hey
You can talk.
everyone,
Yeah,
I just noticed there's a little bit of a lag here,
a little bit. Yeah.
so I'm actually not sure if I should be listening to
Turn off my
one of our audio streams or the others.
Twitch or mute my Twitch. Just mute my Twitch and listen to me. Yeah. Yeah. If you can mute my Twitch, that'll probably be
Okay,
easier.
okay, 1 second here.
Oh, you're good. Oh, you didn't say hi to.
Can you unmute yourself on the on Zoom?
Oh, yeah. Unmute. There you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that.
All right.
There we go. Now we're good. So yeah. So what's up, Binkus? Dylan. It's Dillon, not A-N. So, but anyways, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
All right. So, I'm Sam, and I've known Dylan for a couple years here, maybe give or take one or two. Met this fine young gentleman in high school, and yeah, we've bonded on quite a few topics, and of course, we're just good buddies. But
Buddy.
I will say this much: the topic we're going to get into today is something that we could spend quite a long time discussing. So. I think we'll try to keep it as brief as possible, but that might be a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough for how glorious this movie is. So, and speaking of which, I actually as a shout out to another good horror movie, I do have my Friday the 13th Fun at Camp shirt on. So.
Oh hell yeah!
So my mom is also in the chat, so she says hi. So.
Hi, Mrs. Grandy.
So. Yeah, so I have it right here. As you guys know, I posted about it earlier this week. We are going to be talking about Halloween, John Carpenter's 1978 film, one of the greatest horror movies of all time that changed the game for the horror genre, including the slashers and horror as a whole. So, yeah, we will be talking about that. We're just going to kind of hit some questions, chilling. We're going to talk about, we have some kind of questions we'll pose to each other and kind of chat and go back and forth with. We're going to have some... we're going to show a few clips of some of the best moments from the movie. And we will, so look at some funny parody towards the end. So that I have a surprise for Sam. So that'll be silly and a classic meme that came about a while back. So, yeah. So you ready?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Get into it, man.
So let's take a look. Let's see what we got. So some of the stuff, my Halloween 1978. I remember, so for me personally, this is the film that my family showed me when I was growing up. It was one of the first horror films I can recall seeing as a little kid. My mom and dad wanted to show me because it was one of the ones they saw before they were married together. And they told me about it. And I was just, dude, I was terrified. When I first saw this movie, Michael scared the ever living shit out of me. So I thought he was creepy. He was everywhere. Like you said, he's just, he's called, as John Carpenter called him in his script. I think it's called The Shape.
The Shape.
Yeah, he's The Shape. So it's just like he's just everywhere. And it's funny thing, as I mentioned that now, The Shape, the video game that I play on stream frequently, Dead by Daylight. Michael Myers is one of the killers you can play in the game, and he's actually
Awesome.
They don't call him Michael though; they call him The Shape, which is a great little shout out there. So. So yeah, I mean, it was one of my first few horror films that I saw. It's definitely, it means a lot to me, as it's just one of those ones that really got me into the genre. So yeah, it's something I definitely always try to watch once a year and right around this time, and yeah, it's great. You thought he was the I'm looking at my chat too, so I might read some questions from chat. When he said I thought he was the boogeyman from Binkus, yes, he is the boogeyman. He has many names, but that is one of them. The boogeyman, The Shape, Michael. He's got a couple little nicknames. But after you.
Yeah. Could I just add something?
Yeah.
As far as Halloween goes, you mentioned it's a genre classic. I believe that's what you said.
Yeah.
It certainly is genre defining. Would you say though that maybe it's because of that, and like people from, I guess, a modern perspective might even look at it as being generic because of it, because it was so defining in being the prototype for slasher films. I mean, I would probably argue it is the prototype
Yeah.
because you had films before that that maybe were proto slashers,
Yeah.
like Psycho, perhaps, and
Right.
of course,
Jamie Lee Curtis's mom's in
Jamie
that.
Lee Curtis's, yes, Janet Leigh,
Yep.
and that scene in the shower, of course, is infamous, and that might be the first slasher scene ever
Yeah.
filmed. Um, but would you say then, what is the line between being iconic and generic? I mean, I guess it's just
Hmm.
something that we can talk about in hindsight and retrospect,
Yeah.
because I definitely don't feel like Halloween is a generic film at all.
Mm-mm.
But if I were to describe it to somebody, it almost would sound kind of generic. It's like, yeah, it takes place on Halloween, and there's like a killer guy, and he has a knife, and he goes after a bunch of teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
just describing it with
With that.
that
Yeah.
doesn't do it justice,
The
but it
simplification.
sounds, yeah, there's a way where you could make Halloween sound extremely generic,
Right.
but it's not.
No, no, you're right, and I agree with you. It's like with that simplification of it, you can think people will just get that assumption. Oh, it's just a generic. It's another slasher. But I think it again like you look ahead now. You look at modern times. There's just so many slashers, and a lot of those slashers draw from Halloween in some sense, or they do get that. A lot of them take influence. A lot of directors from the horror genre take influence off of Halloween and John Carpenter and just in general from all of his horror flicks. But it's like we're kind of I feel like nowadays slashers a lot of people are just kind of desensitized to them. Like they're not as it's hard to get into that. What makes it unique now? What makes it iconic? What sets it aside? What sets it apart from Halloween? What sets it aside from other slashers that came after Halloween that are big and iconic? I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but I think with Halloween it was just something
Friday
that
the 13th,
Friday the
Nightmare
13th.
on Elm
Yeah,
Street.
yeah, that's slasher. Yeah, that's definitely slasher. Um, but yeah, exactly. It's like they all had different unique things to them as well that set them apart from Halloween. Halloween you have Michael, this guy who comes, this monster, this we don't know what he is. Like we'll get to the question soon about the supernatural versus human, but we don't know what he is, and he's just this guy coming to kill people on Halloween night in Haddonfield, Illinois, and it's on Halloween night. He comes out and he goes on a murder spree, and he's wearing a white mask, and it's this creepy jumpsuit, and he's quiet. He breathes. He doesn't say a word. He moves quickly, but he's like through the shadows, and it's very ominous, and you're constantly at high tension, high stress. It's where is he? So I don't know. It's there was something that when Carpenter made the film, it was so low budget, it was so special, and they did so much with so little. And made it just it was I truly believe a lot of it relies on his cinematography, and obviously the music was so the music really made it, just gave that real sense of unnerving feeling and whatnot. So and my mom said the William Shatner mask. Yes, that is the William Shatner mask. Yep, that is the William Shatner. So it's what do you think? What's your thoughts to that?
Well, I was gonna say something about the William Shatner mask,
Mm.
and how if you were to draw Michael Myers, just his face,
Yeah.
like we could easily draw Jason Voorhees. Okay, a hockey mask, done. Draw Freddy Krueger, a fedora, a pizza face, done. How about Michael Myers?
Pizza face. I love that. Throw a couple pieces of pepperoni. We got Freddy.
Oh yeah. No, you should see, especially some of the sequels. They really kind of screwed the pooch, so to speak, on him being actually scary looking, a burn victim. But if you were to draw Michael Myers,
how would I do
how
it?
would you do it with just his face? I think it would be much more challenging because yes, it's William Shatner, but it's just a face that's painted white. It lacks definition. It lacks
Hmm.
features.
Yeah,
And
it's absent, like you said, of emotion and everything. Yeah, lacks all that.
yeah, I would say that Michael Myers' appearance lacks definition, and his character also lacks definition. Uh,
Yeah,
Also, where are his motives as well? Whence cometh this the shape?
right.
We know, of course, and we'll talk about it, and we'll watch. I believe we're going to watch this clip in a minute.
Yes,
But we know, of course, his origins at least are not from the pits of hell. At
right.
least probably not. He was a child. He was a he was a boy, and we see his face from
Hmm.
from the uh, the opening scene. We know he has a face.
Right. Yeah, he was at once. Like we. It's funny because I know we again we might be all over the place some here and there with some of the stuff we're talking about, but it's okay. But I was gonna say now that you brought that up, we see in this original 1978, we see that he's a little boy, but we don't. We just kind of, which we will take a look at that scene here shortly, but we just take a. It's just we get brought into him going in that iconic opening sequence of him going to kill his sister, Judith. And but then you flip that. We go to let's go jump ahead to just we'll take obviously we're going to talk about the sequels or the other ones, the remakes with Rob Zombie, and we get to
Mhm.
see more of the childhood of Michael Myers and like what it shows. Like he was an abused. His parents were really awful people. Not his mother wasn't so much. She had her problems, but the dad was real abusive and a terrible human being. So it's like we kind of see a little bit more of his childhood life versus what we get in this 1978, where it's just boom right off the bat, you're getting this little boy murdering, but we don't understand what was the motive. It's just like I'm gonna, it's just he's just pure evil. It's like there is
Yeah.
no there. It's just like as Loomis says in the film, it's just pure evil. He is nothing but evil, and there's nothing in that eye. There's nothing in his eyes. It's just so like my mom said in chat, soulless. So soulless. So, but yeah,
Exactly.
it's pretty wild. I mean, not like I said, how the movie opens. It's one of those scenes where it's just you kind of get. I'm sure people in the theaters at that time were shaken, and it was definitely something that threw me through a curve when I was little too. So, but one thing I wanted to talk about too is just going back to how I mentioned the cinematography, the location,
Hmm.
the cast, like all of that. Like I think there's a lot of good stuff we can kind of kind of go about with that. And one of the fun facts I was going to throw at you, and I might have mentioned this to you before, is that when Halloween, I know it's funny because Halloween's filmed in California. It's filmed,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
filmed in
It's
California,
not it's
not
not filmed in the middle of the country in
yeah.
Illinois. It's certainly a Hollywood film.
Hmm. And so yeah, filmed in California. And it's funny because you can kind of see in parts of the shots when they're going that there's some palm trees in the background. You can kind of catch a couple palm trees in the back of the 1978. But they're really good at keeping that hidden, though. They did a great job at really working with what they got. And but one of the things too that I found really funny and I thought was really interesting as a fun fact is that during the filming of Halloween, they were so desperate. John Carpenter was so desperate to locate. They didn't have any pumpkins. They couldn't find enough
That's
pumpkins
right.
for the movie, and I think they only got like one or two. And it's the one you see is the kid squashing it that falls when he trips from the high school or leaving the school when he bumps into Michael. That's like one of the few only pumpkins they had on set. Where the rest were all gourds that they simply painted orange to reflect the pumpkins. So I thought that was
Yes.
a pretty fun, crazy fact that they searched everywhere through Cali and there's a pumpkin shortage.
Was that because they were filming in the summertime?
I
When were
think
they
you're right. I
when were
think
they
you're right.
filming?
It's a great question. I mean, you can take a look here. I believe you're right um, that it was in the summertime. I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to take a look here. Yeah, no, actually, it was shot. Another fun fact. It was shot 20 days, and this is I'm getting these off IMDb, so credit for IMDb on these for these facts. Uh, Halloween was shot in 20 days in the spring of 1978. So in
Wow,
20 days it took to shot the film,
that's
which is
amazing.
crazy. You think about it. It's a film that what it was the what's it called? What are they? Yeah, I forget how much it made. The movie, the budget was not. I think. Oh, so that's the thing. So again, shot in 20 days with a budget. Halloween was only made on a budget of $300,000, and it ended up grossing like I think it was 150 mil something like that. Or no, it
Wow.
went. Oh, I'm sorry, it went. The film went to gross 47 million. 47 million off a $300,000 budget. So kind of crazy for that time period.
Yeah, that seems to be a trend in a lot of, I would say again, genre-defining horror films. For
Hmm.
instance, the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
That was one that I don't know if the budget was there. You can maybe find a quote there, but
Yeah.
uh, it took off, and again, that was one that sort of changed the game at the time.
Right.
Um, so it's interesting how uh, something like this, I don't want to say it almost came off as like a fluke, because again, they didn't have a costume for the killer, so they went to the store and all they found were, I believe it was a clown mask and the William Shatner mask.
Yeah.
So again, this iconic look, it just kind of happened on accident.
Right. No. Yeah.
And it's just like everything, it seemed like the odds were stacked against them, really. But somehow, maybe it was the spirit of Halloween, but it pulled the thing through.
That was good. I like what you did there. What a guy. So yeah, no, you're right. They're totally right though. No, it's incredible that they got through doing everything that they did with the budget they did, and like I said, in 20 days, which is still crazy to me. Like they filmed and like shooting with the actors they had, because again, I mean Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't like a super well known. I mean she wasn't really big at this time period as far as I'm aware. I mean she was the daughter of was it her mother's name again from Psycho?
Janet Leigh.
Janet Leigh. Yeah, thank you, Janet Leigh. So yeah, she was big, but like Jamie Lee wasn't like super big. She was in I think a couple films prior, like a one or two other films I think before. I mean, the biggest name in this whole film was Donald Pleasance, and
Yes.
it's funny because so Donald Pleasance, he obviously plays the iconic Dr. Loomis, and Michael Myers is doctor, psychiatrist, whatever, everything, looking after him as he grows older and the penitentiary or the asylum he's in. So I mean, with Loomis's character, it's funny because Donald Pleasance was a really big actor and he was in a lot of movies prior. And one of the other facts that I actually saw this documentary. It was on Netflix. It's like the movies that made us, or the movies that made us, and they do like
Oh yeah,
highlights. I think you might have probably seen it too, right?
I watched that, yeah, about a
Yeah,
year ago.
yeah. They do highlights of like really iconic films, and Halloween was one of them. And that's where I found out. One of the things I didn't know was Donald Pleasance during a couple bits of the filming, most of the filming, he was actually pretty drunk on set for it, which I thought was pretty funny. And he actually did his scenes really well. So that kind of blew me away to hear that. I was like, wow, I guess he was like I don't know. He just didn't think it was going to be great. It was nervous. He didn't know if he should have taken the role. Like there was a lot of things going through his mind at the time, but he still pulled it off with such poise. And so he was just perfect. It
Oh
was,
yeah, well he's a classically trained actor. He goes way back. So having him in there really boosted, the film. But
mhm.
uh regardless, everyone is awesome. Everyone
Yeah.
is stellar, and you really believe it, I think. Even though there's some moments, I don't know if you have this clip, but there's some moments that are like, I don't know, like the scene where Michael has the bed sheet over him and
Oh, yeah.
the glasses on. It's like, well, I don't know. It's like it reminds me a bit too much of like Peanuts and the Gang and the Great Pumpkin or something. But you know,
No,
it's
yeah.
Michael Myers, and it still works. And the funny thing is, even you have all of this, you have all these elements that they just come through. And I guess we'll take a look at a couple clips here in a moment.
Hmm.
But before I even saw Halloween, which I didn't see until I was I would, I guess, middle school age, a young, I guess, pre-high school, but still quite young. But before I saw it, when I was in elementary school,
Yeah.
um,
Dang.
I had some friends that indeed had seen quite a few horror films, and their parents were quite lenient, apparently. But they would tell me about them because, of course, I love spooky stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would just describe these scenes to me, such as young Michael going to his sister's bedroom. And that just, all of this, oh, it was so intriguing to me just hearing about these things. So just, you can just take moments from this movie and enjoy them as they are, and then you, of course, it just it all works together. And I'm saying that because you can't say that for most films, I feel. I mean, I I just, especially horror films,
Yeah.
usually there's like a couple good moments and they're built for that. But again, I think this film really embodies the spirit and the mood. We're talking about the cinematography.
Yep.
It embodies the season.
Yeah.
It is Halloween.
Yep.
I think the original title of the film was supposed to be like The Babysitter Murders,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is extremely generic sounding. But thank God we got the title Halloween, because it really is uh, the season. It is the season defining horror film, and it is the the defining film for all slasher films, in my opinion.
No, no, you're. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you totally, man. I mean, it's again, anytime, like it's funny, anytime people mention Halloween or when October is approaching, that movie is always top of mind. That movie is always first to come to my mind. One that I always want to watch, always want to sit down with. It's just like I said, it's special, and it defines it. Really, it is Halloween. Like the movie defines this. Like I said, the slasher. It's just something else. It's something special. And every time I talk to anyone about it, when we talk about it, or any other people that I know that have seen this, grew up with this, they all say the same. They all just give it nothing but high praise. I mean, no matter what, it's just and my mom said, and the dang music. Yeah, the music is I mean, the music, it's crazy to me because it's funny. I even mentioned this to my mom. And I mentioned this to other people. The music that da na 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 na, like that music is played, it's like everywhere. Like it's like you'll go to like a Fright Fest or something at Universal, or you'll go to like Knott's Berry's Scary Farm, whatever, or you'll go and you hear that music on the intercom playing. It's played at, like, you're walking down a neighborhood going trick or treating in your local neighborhood. Someone's playing that on their front porch with their stereo. It's funny because that music is just everywhere, because it is Halloween. That is Halloween. Like it defines it. And I love that.
Yeah, and it's like a pulse, right?
Yeah.
It's like the heartbeat of the film, just like
Dun, 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 dun,
it
dun.
just it and like you said, it's constant,
Mhm.
it's omnipresent, and now it's been unleashed into this world,
Yeah.
so it's unescapable.
Yeah.
And which is great. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean, come on, you're looking over your shoulder. Ooh,
Right,
was
right,
it?
exactly.
Maybe that was him. But
Yeah. No, yeah, you're
that's what
like,
you want in Halloween, right? You want to be a little spooked.
yeah, exactly. No, 100%. I love it. It's so easy to play, yet so complicated to understand, right, Binkus? Yeah. Yeah, because he plays it. He said he plays it on the piano. He can play it on the piano, so that's awesome. I love seeing that. But yeah, so we still got some, before we get into some of the clips here. Trying to think here. I know we talked about, with let's actually, let's talk about this one. This one I thought was a good question. It'd be funny. Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween universe. It's like a multiverse, as we know.
That's right.
It's become the multiverse of Halloween movies, which, it's funny. Like, yeah, she was in what? Jamie Lee Curtis was in 1 and 2. You fast forward through about like 5 Halloweens, and then you get to Halloween H2O,
Yeah.
and then we get Halloween Resurrection with wasn't that Busta Rhymes?
Oh yes. That's right.
one of the funniest. Oh man, it's so ridiculous. But in Resurrection, though, it's funny. We see Jamie Lee Curtis die. Michael finally gets her. And it's like, well, I guess I'll just go back to my house and murder some more people. But fast forward to now, present day. We're currently in a new genre. We're in a new remaster. Of Halloween. We are in the remake. I don't remember the director's name.
Dare we discuss these films? Dare
we got to bring it up. We got to bring it up because it's coming out this Friday. Halloween Ends comes out this Friday in theaters and on Peacock streaming live. Let's see. So I'll just give my personal opinion on the first two. And it'll be quick. I'm not going to be super long about this. I'm not going to draw this one out. Let's see. What did Binka say before I get there? The Halloween has more messed up timeline than the actual Paradox. They threw away half of the films. Fair.
Yeah.
But anyways, so my mom's sending me stuff too. I'm just looking at people are sending me like all kinds of fun facts and stuff. Oh yeah, but we'll get to them. I'll get to these in a minute. But anyways, so I don't lose my train of thought. The first Halloween movie, when it first came out, the remake that came out a couple years back, my family and I went to see it. You know, I was pretty pumped up. The trailer looked pretty hype. I was like, okay, we got Jamie Lee Curtis back in it, and it's like her daughter. Okay, this looks interesting. And then the trailer made Jamie Lee Curtis look pretty badass. 2018, Binkus, yeah, that's when it was. 2018. They made Jamie Lee Curtis like all fucking badass. You know, she's coming in. She's like, I'm gonna kill Michael. I'm ready. I'm preparing. She has like this war zone house prepare. I'm like, cool. Okay, this is interesting. I'm curious. I'll bite. And so we get it, and I don't know, man. It was just like, and I won't knock the first one as hard as I will the next one. But the first one, it was okay to some extent. There were some parts. It just, to me, it felt like, I look at Halloween 1. The very first Halloween we're talking about tonight here is that, Michael, we saw him as a little boy. He became the psycho killer. He grew up. He was in a penitentiary, escapes. He goes after his last relative, which is Jamie Lee Curtis, or the last person he was with, related to, and Lori.
But wait, Dylan, can I just
Oh, for sure,
pause
please.
right there? That little detail was something added later on in a later film, I believe, trying to make that connection between Michael and Lori.
Oh,
Correct?
yeah.
I'm sure in the original film,
Well, Loomis does
they
bring
were
it up.
not related, were they?
I think Loomis brings it up. Maybe my mom can answer that question.
Laurie, 'cause it's Laurie Strode.
Yeah, Laurie Strode, and then I think there's something though.
Were they related? Was that established in the first film?
Let me
I
check.
should have watched it
No,
last night.
I know, me too. I thought about it too. Let me see. I'll look real quick. Laurie Strode related to Michael.
Because that's definitely the established canon
Yeah.
by this point, but I'm not quite sure if that was in the first film. I could be wrong.
They were at one point. They were lost in the timeline. That's what Binka said. Well, it said in the original one. Yeah, it said. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis discovers that Lori is Michael and Judith's sister. She was put up for adoption after the death of their parents, which the record sealed to protect her family. So that's how Loomis was able to figure out. So that canon was established pretty early, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
So yeah. But thank you, that's a good thing to bring up, because it is something I totally forgot if that was even brought up in the first one at all. But I just vaguely remember a scene with Loomis talking about it. But no, we fast forward, and Michael was in the first film, like I said, he's calculated. He's going after Lori, and he goes after Lori's friends, but he never goes after anyone else. We see him grab the little kid. We see he doesn't hurt the kid. He doesn't hurt anyone else. He just strictly goes after Lori, and eventually Loomis, he comes at him at the end. But we go fast forward to this new modern Halloween now, and now they basically have turned Michael into a straight up full blown psychopathic killer, where he's just going house to house in Halloween in Haddonfield, murdering people randomly at will, until he locates Lori. I was kind of like, the reason I was a bit and I say this because I remember the one scene that really threw me for a loop. I was like, if they're trying to be so hardcore with Michael and make him the psychopathic murderer, which he is, it's like, okay, I can get down with that. But then the moment there's the scene in the first movie where Michael's in the house and he murders some lady and there's a baby. And I remember Michael goes to the crib and he looks at the baby and he just walks away. I'm like, if you're so psycho, they should have went there. They should have took it to another level of holy shit, he is fucked up. He killed a baby. Just cracked something sick or something twisted. But that's just my sick brain being like, okay, if you're gonna make Michael be a sick fuck,
he's a softie at heart.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. He's a softie.
He draws the line at a baby.
Right.
Teenagers, meh.
Yeah. Teenagers.
Baby, no way. He has his principles.
Right. So that's my thing. And I was like, okay. I wasn't being. I'm trying to be too hard on that. But the first Halloween, it was okay. I was a little bit angry about it. And I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember at the ending, they put him in the basement, they lit it on fire, and they trapped him. And I was like, okay, how the fuck is he going to survive this, right? And this is that question what I brought up, or you brought up, and I want to talk about too, is supernatural versus human, right? Because he's in the basement roasting. And fast forward, we go to Halloween Kills. Oh my God. I was so angry with this film. So Halloween Kills was the one that really threw me over the edge of I am so upset because he's trying to get a high kill in Fortnite match. Jesus. Pincus. So yeah, with Halloween Kills, the fire department goes in there. They see Michael walk out of the house almost on fire, and they all get it's like 6 firemen against Michael, and he just murders them all relentlessly. And it blew my mind. And then I think the thing that really killed me the most is that this whole town comes together at the latter half of that film. Spoiler alert if you're watching. Spoiler alert for Halloween Kills, the one that's before the one coming out Friday. You know, at the ending, Michael, the whole town's like, let's go kill Michael, let's hunt him down. I'm like, okay, I like this, so let's finally kill him. Like, just if everyone bands together, everyone gets guns and weapons, like you can all take him. He can't kill all of you. And then the final sequence is whenever they all surround Michael, and you know, it's just like this great moment. I'm like, okay, they're gonna batter him, fucking smash him into the ground, like. And then like this one lady brings like a frying pan or something stupid. I'm like, oh my god, I was so mad. And they like beat him down to the ground, and he's on the ground, and I'm like, dude, if Michael was on the ground, I would get a bat, or I would batter his brains until it was complete pancaked, like mush to the ground. But they let him get up, and he murders everyone, and then he gets away. I'm like, come on, man. I was so angry. I was like, and the person with the gun got shot. I'm like, oh my god, this movie, you're killing me here.
Now, was that because they had signed some deal with, I guess Universal or Peacock or whatever?
Yeah, to push
Was
it.
that like, okay, we need to have 3 films?
You know what? It's a great
Was
question.
that the intended
I
deal?
I could see that being 100% the intended deal. Like, there was a quote that I saw this week, and I can't find it, but it made me angry. And it was something Carpenter said, and I'm like, oh, come on. Why are you supporting this? You're better than this. And I made me really upset. I don't know. I see if I can pull it up here. But I would say you're probably right. There's probably a deal that they probably did that with they wanted to do a certain amount of films with this, and so I don't know. So I'm gonna look up this quote, but again, this Friday, Halloween is what it called. Halloween Ends, quote unquote. Halloween Ends is coming out this Friday on Peacock and on in theaters. I told my family, they wanted to see it with me. I said, no, I'm not spending the money. Even if you're paying for me, I don't want you to pay for me to go see this because I don't want to see this movie in theaters. I refuse to give it money. I'll sit at home when I have Peacock, where I can watch it comfortably at my home and rage at home, not raging in theaters. So my mom and dad and my sister are going to go see it in theaters. I told them, I'm like, I won't say anything. I won't spoil it for you. I'll just tell you what I think. I'll just say if it's good or bad. I'll just say bad or good, whatever. I'm not going to give you anything else. But I was like, I don't know. I want it to end. I want Laurie. I don't know if Laurie, I don't care who dies. I just want someone to die and we move on. Just someone move on, please. Like, if Michael dies, great. Please kill him somehow. Cut his head off. Anything. But if they both die, great. That's even better. Then the whole thing can conclude. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on this whole modern take on Halloween? If you've seen any of them, what do you got? Well, I'm looking up this quote here. Please.
Well, I would say the series or the franchise has been dead for a long time.
Yeah.
That wasn't one of them. Halloween's dead or Halloween Ends.
Yeah, Halloween.
But really, it's Halloween is dead. Because as we were talking about how genre defining and iconic the original is, these recent films have indeed been very generic, and they indeed are, to quote your mom earlier, saying Michael Myers is soulless. Well, these movies are soulless.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's really no, it's really a shame because uh, even some of the first sequels that came out in the 80s were quite good. They at least they tried something new. They were a little fresh, and we all know it kind of they lost track, lost sight of, okay, like what is this really about, and it kind of fell apart. Then they brought in Rob Zombie, and say what you will about his films, there's a lot of, I think, critique that is well deserved. Like, is it necessary to give him that backstory? That kind of takes the mystique out of Michael Myers. Like, why is he the way he is? Oh, he was in an abusive household. Well, that doesn't make him very scary anymore, really. Makes him more like, I guess, like Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw. I think that might have been a better fit for Rob Zombie to do a remake of Texas Chainsaw. But at least it tried something different with these recent films. Really, they're kind of a sad state of affairs, and I I don't know. I don't really care. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. It's how a lot of I would say movies are done this way. these days, which is
Yeah.
like, okay, we have this brand, we have this franchise, and we just need to put it out there, and that's about it. Now
Yeah.
on Peacock, the new Halloween, right?
Right. No, no, that's a good point. And I just you're right. Like and like how my mom said, like just how you said, it's these films have now they've all become soulless. Like there's no heart in it. There's nothing like that defines it from the other ones. And like Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, like the original ones, like 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and that's it. And it's like, after that it's just like well, like again, Halloween Resurrection had some really funny moments. I'm not saying it's good by no means, but my god, I laughed so hard with the whole Busta Rhymes dressing up as Michael, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing, Michael? What are you doing?" Like yelling at him, and Michael just stares at him and turns around. I was crying. I was like, "This is so stupid, but it's so funny at the same time." but but yeah, no, it's definitely the movies have lost their touch, and it's sad. And here's the quote. I found it. And my God, I was so angry when I read this quote from John Carpenter because I'm like, this is just, it's like disgusting to me that he would say this. It's like, why, dude? He said, and I quote, this is from recently, he did a recent interview with The New Yorker where he wrote and directed the initial Halloween. He asked, when asked about the future additions to the film's canon, Carpenter replied, if a movie makes enough money, you can be assured that it will get a sequel. I was like, oh, why? Because it's the money, man. It's not even about if it's good. If it can be a total piece of shit, people will still pay for it and still watch it. And it's like you're giving that money. That's exactly why I don't want to give Halloween Ends money, because I have zero faith it's gonna be. If I was upset about 2, I'm gonna be more upset about 3. I bet. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong. Like I'll be so shocked if it's any remotely decent than the last, but I highly doubt it. I'm going in with negative expectations. I'm going in with no expectations. So
Yeah, that's probably best.
yeah,
I feel for most movies these days, going with zero expectations.
yeah,
And yeah, at the very worst, it was boring.
right,
But yeah, man, I see where he's coming from. I mean, that's not necessarily like a positive or negative like endorsement of the movies. It's almost just like saying, yeah, there'll be another one if it makes money. Uh, which I guess these days that's kind of hard to do. I don't know exactly how that's all factored in with streaming as well. I mean, are we looking at box office sales or
yeah,
whatever? But anything can make money if it's a brand, right?
right,
So you put it on a T-shirt, give them plushies, you sell that Universal Studios, and bada bing, bada boom, it's making money, and they can just keep making movies almost as like an advertisement for their merchandise and everything else and the theme parks. So I'm sure that's factored in.
yeah,
Yeah, it's disappointing. And of course, I mean, as far as John Carpenter's movies go, he wasn't he doesn't seem to me as a guy who was just trying to make something that was commercially appealing,
right,
right? So whether or not Halloween was kind of like, whoa, like that was kind of a miracle that movie took off. It wasn't a miracle in that we know we had a lot of creative geniuses behind it, and
right,
it's just like the stars aligned. But a lot of John Carpenter's films, which are great,
yeah,
the majority of people have never seen or heard of. Like Prince of Darkness is one of the best horror films I know of,
yeah,
and most people I don't think are familiar with it. Or even The Thing, which of course is beloved by horror fans. The remake of The Thing,
oh yeah, with Kurt
I
Russell,
with Kurt Russell. I think it's 1982 or 1981. But
yeah, 82.
again,
You're right, yeah,
it's a film that I think outside of horror circles, many people are unaware of, at least, and yeah, which is you know
I was gonna
it's a
say
shame.
Prince of Darkness is streaming on Peacock for those who want to watch.
Oh,
Yeah,
Peacock, you did
yeah.
something right for once.
Donald Pleasance. So,
That's right.
um, so yeah. So, I'm trying to think what other ones though. I'm just looking through his whole list. Oh, we didn't talk about it just because it is pretty random. But and I only think it's funny is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which has no Michael Myers. However, it still falls in the timeline of their Michael Myers. Like technically, it is a Halloween film, Well, I mean, that
Yes.
Halloween, it has that classic 2 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
And that is such a great sound. Oh yeah, that's an iconic soundtrack,
It
and of course
is.
that was done by John Carpenter.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a good time, put that soundtrack on in the background. If you have like a Halloween party or you're just chilling, put that on. That is a great soundtrack.
That two
Except when you
more.
get to that part, it kind of takes the vibe out of it.
It's so funny. My mom
This
even said Silver Shamrock. Yeah. So good.
beautiful.
That's beautiful. I didn't know he did Ghosts of Mars, which was an interesting film too. That was a interesting one. I didn't know he did that one. With the Ward, that one was interesting too. But yeah, he's done it quite a bit. He's also helped to like produce a bunch too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he's always been kind of like a second pair of eyes on a lot of people's films that go into the horror genre. And like he's been obviously a part of these new ones too, the more modern ones. But it's like I don't know, the director of the original remaster here, or these new Halloweens. Let me see who that is. 'Cause I am honestly
They
unsure.
they definitely have his name on it, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, he's on. His name's on the original, like these remastered ones that came out in 2018. I'm trying to think. The director is David Gordon Green. Yeah, that's who. So David Gordon Green directed these. He's these three abysmal fucking garbage. It's funny because we'll have to talk. It's funny because it's like one film we'll maybe have to talk about later down the line. We can always bring it up maybe sometime in the next month or two. That's because I'm just curious. 'Cause I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes for this Halloween, the first one. Like I said, it wasn't. I don't like it, but I'm not gonna knock it super hard. The remake, but it did get an 80% almost on Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm like, wow, that's very generous in my opinion. It should be way lower. But one film that recently came out, which we can talk about another night, I'll just bring up to you so you kind of keep it on your radar. Is a lot of people have been talking about is Barbarian. Um,
Okay.
my
I think I
mom,
heard you mention that.
my mom and I saw it in theaters, and just a quick one. I'm not gonna say much about it because I'll let you see it. You tell me what you think about it. I
All right.
personally didn't like it. I thought the movie had a great start. Like it had a really good. It was fire. Great start. Like I didn't know anything about the film. I went into it blind. I didn't really watch the trailer. I just heard it was getting so much hype and praise, being praised one of the best horror films of this year or this like for a long time. And I was like, okay. And the start of it was great. It had an awesome start. It's like about in the short synopsis of what it's about. Even it's about this girl. She's going to go for a trip out in Detroit. She has to find it. She has an Airbnb at this place in Detroit, and comes to find out when she gets to her Airbnb that there's also someone staying there too. That they booked the same Airbnb, and she's like, how is that possible? But it is. So she goes in there, and more sinister stuff starts going on. And like the start of it it's great. It has an awesome start, but then like once you get to the middle and like if the ending, it just takes a steep dive in my opinion. I thought it was terrible. Thought it just became not even scary. It became more humorous. Like my mom and I were actually laughing. I didn't find it any at all scary. Didn't have anything remotely frightening to me at all in the movie. There were some missed opportunities in the movie, and then my biggest gripe was they casted Justin Long in the movie. I don't like him. I don't think he's a great actor. I think he plays the same kind of afraid, scaredy cat, idiot actor in all of his movies, like Jeepers Creepers. Like, yes, he played a good idiot, scaredy cat in Jeepers Creepers. I'll give him that. That was it, because that was the first time I ever saw him in a movie. Was that before Dodgeball and shit? But in this movie, it was out of place. It was out of place. I don't get it. So a lot of people are like, it's so good. People are like, it's the best I've ever seen. I'm like, I just don't. It's not my cup of tea. So, but
Okay. I'll have to check that one
yeah,
out.
you have to look. It's supposed to come out on HBO Max. I don't know if anywhere else it'll be streaming, but yeah, you have to let me know. Anywho, that's Barbarian. I wanted to ask them, while we're on the topic of all these Halloweens in the multiverse too, what's your favorite? If you had to pick one, what's your favorite sequel or remake of all the ridiculous amounts of Halloweens? If you had to pick one, what would you sacrifice and go with?
Oh, I mean, I think it's no question. Probably Halloween 4.
Halloween 4? Okay, that's let me go back. Let me go to the Halloween. Let me pull up all the movies here. Halloween movies. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Halloween 4. Let's see. The return of Michael Myers. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Why is it? Why is it your favorite? Or why would it be your second favorite of the sequels and remakes? Just want to know, yeah.
Yeah, I would say maybe there's a nostalgic factor in my picking of it. I think it was one of the first Halloween movies I ever saw, if not the first one
Mm-hmm.
I actually watched. But also it's just a solid movie. It's and it captures the spirit of the Halloween season in my opinion. It's not obviously it's not as iconic and as the original. You could make an argument that it's a bit more generic, and maybe it's lacking something. But it introduces a new character who essentially at the end there's kind of this like I don't know if it's like a twist, but basically there's this young girl. We later learn she's actually related to Michael,
Hmm.
and she becomes kind of like the new torchbearer for, you know, his evil seed or whatever.
Hmm.
So it kind of touches on the lore of like, okay, w where does this evil come from? And it's almost like it's inherited. Um, I believe the movies after that kind of take that to another level and overdo it and just yeah. From my understanding, I haven't seen those films,
Hmm.
but I've read plot synopses and yeah, it continues with that story. But Halloween 4 is good, so I definitely recommend it.
No, yeah, I
It's
enjoyed
been a while
Halloween.
since I've watched it, but it's
Yeah.
a good one.
No, I enjoyed Halloween 4. I do want to ask too, and anyone in chat, if you have a favorite sequel or remake of the Halloweens, if you want to put it in the chat, what's your favorite of the Halloween franchise? Um, and while you guys are putting that, if anyone's putting that in the chat, then for me, looking at all the Halloweens here, yeah, actually, I was about to say that my mom and I have the same one that I actually, I actually do enjoy it. I'm gonna say Halloween H2O. That's the
Hmm.
I did enjoy. Besides the first one, like my mom said, I don't know. Yeah, something about H2O, man. I watched it. I just remember like whenever you saw Jamie Lee return for the first time after like everything, it was like the first time she came back after all the stuff happened. Cut her hair. You know, she's the teacher at the school. Changed her name, I think, and when Michael comes back and it's like it was and like the whole on the campus and whatnot and like kind of like the whole when he's like stalking her family, like her and her son and the kids there at the campus, and he's like, killing them all there, and like the ending movie at the ending part when he tricks her and he switches the mask on the guy and she kills him. Like I love that sequence when he's like he sneaks out and he like she thought she killed Michael and he's still like I was like I don't know what I just really enjoyed that about it. Like it was maybe a little bit cheesy and dumb, but it was still something about H2O that just I don't know what it was. I'd have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, a little cheesy and dumb is no problem,
Yeah, of
you know, especially in horror films.
course.
And you could make the argument in many great horror films, there are elements of cheese, and it still works because uh, what I think makes anything good is if something is genuine, right? If
Hmm.
something comes from the heart, if you realize everyone's like, okay, we want this to be made, and right, not it, maybe it's not 100% perfect, but it still has some heart there,
Right.
and I think that's why these new Peacock films, are deserving of criticism because they really feel like they lack that element,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, a lot of our favorite horror films have a lot of humor, whether or not they're branded as um, black comedies
Hmm.
or not. A lot of great horror films still have at least a bit of humor in them.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I would say.
No. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm trying to see what other people too in let's see chat. Binkus. My parents were really overprotective. I didn't watch many horror movies. Oh, I'm sorry. My mom and dad just were like, go watch them. Jake the Snake, what's up, man? Good to see you. He says Rob Zombie's Halloween sold me with the long take at the start. Yeah, no, I actually it's funny because we can briefly chat about that. We have plenty of time. I recently rewatched both of them because I actually funny thing is I never saw the Rob Zombie second one, the remake of the two. I never saw it because I heard it was kind of awful. Um, your face, but but I did. I rewatched the first one, and the first one's interesting. Like I said, we talked about it briefly at the beginning of this stream, and it's like we get that take of like and I wasn't really a big fan. The kid was a bit of an odd actor to play Michael. He just was an interesting child.
Mhm.
He was a really interesting child. He was a
He was
really
kind of like more of like a trailer park sort of,
right.
was he kind of like a hillbilly? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
they were
remember
kind
what
of like
the casting was.
he kind of was. He was just an interesting child, and he was just like they were kind of like hickish hillbilly, poor because like the Rob Zombie he was the dad. He was abusive, very verbally abusive to his wife and verbally abusive to the kid, physically abusive, very poor living condition, and the wife was working as a stripper. And he was always getting made fun of at school because everyone knew his mom was a stripper, blah blah blah. The sister was kind of a whore, blah blah blah. It's like there was a lot of bad stuff in the family, so he had a really bad upbringing. And so it's like, seeing that aspect of the movie was kind of interesting to me. Just kind of like, okay, we're getting this more look into his like childhood life, like maybe what could have tweaked his brain a bit versus like the just straight up evil, like maybe something attributed to that. And was it the parenting? Was it this? Did he, what caused it? Was it the bullying, getting picked on, getting beat up at school, all that stuff? And then he ended up killing that bully that, beat him up. He, beat the ever living shit out of him with a tree branch in the forest and battered his brains in. And, and he like hid behind his mask and then we realized that kept him. So
that was the birth of Michael Myers in the mind of Rob Zombie.
Correct.
We
Yeah.
have this clear motivation backstory.
Right.
Which is, again, that's a fresh take.
It's a different take, yeah.
I have no real criticism of Rob Zombie as far as like his vision. I think it works for what it is, right? Now, the question is it scary? Oh, I saw it.
Sorry, I was saying someone. Well, dude, my mom brought up the scary movie franchise was funny. That's why the scary movie franchise is funny. Yeah, and then some Pinkett said when I was explaining the Rob Zombie film, he said it sounds like an Adam Sandler movie. I mean, I don't think Rob Schneider appeared anywhere in the movie. Just to say
That's the one Adam Sandler comedy I would watch.
It's
Adam Sandler is Michael Myers as a kid. Rob Zombie is his dad.
And then
or maybe it's Rob Schneider.
Yeah, it's after Michael. You see Michael as Sandler murdering someone, and then you hear Rob Schneider in the background. You can do it. What a Sandler film that would be.
Oh god.
Halloween Rebirth by Adam Sandler. Oh man, what a. Whew.
No, I would definitely pay to see that.
Oh yeah, me too. No, but continue. I'm sorry if I killed your train of thought.
No worries. I was just saying. I wonder what is that as far as his vision.
Yeah.
What's better then? Like us knowing, okay, this is why Michael is the way he is, or that he is just this sort of like embodiment of soulless evil, and there is no explanation. And I think my opinion is pretty clear. I definitely prefer the original and seeing him as a child that does not seem abused, and they live in a very average sort of household.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That to me is a lot creepier because it doesn't offer you an explanation. It doesn't give you an answer.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is possessing him to act out in this, on these murders, especially at a young age? I think child murders especially are extremely disturbing.
Of course.
So, yeah, and I believe we'll watch that clip here.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull those up here. Before I pull those up too, I was gonna say, like you said, with those moments, we're left guessing. It's more creepy when it's like that. Why is he like this? As the people, like what we're doing right now, we're talking about it. We're left guessing. What is the motive? Why? It's scary. Why is he doing this? Instead of being told this is why he did this. This is why he did that. You're just given the answer right there. But it's better when you're left kind of unsure. You're uncertain. You're guessing of why is Michael doing this? What's the reason? What's the cause? So I like that. So let's we can take a look at some clips here. And let me what we'll do. So I will pull these up here. Let me kill the soft music I was putting on. What I'm gonna do is we'll watch these clips. I pulled a couple clips. We're gonna show them here. I'm actually gonna pull them over. What I'll do, I'm gonna pull these over your screen, Sam, so they won't be able to see you for the moment here. Or actually, you know what I might do? I might transition. Let me try something here. Let's try. I don't know if this is gonna work, but let's give it a shot. Just a second. See if this works. I'm gonna try something here. Stand by, people. Let's see. Okay, so this might actually work. Huzzah. Okay, so I think I'm on a new screen right now on my Twitch screen. So we're gonna watch a couple clips. Let me maximize all these clips so they're out there ready. I kind of pushed forward on a couple of them just to get to the spots I need it. So we'll start off with the, and I'll keep you on here. We'll talk about it. It's gonna be up on the screen here so people can see. Let me see if I can full screen it so it's not all cropped out like that. Double check how it looks. That's much better. Okay, so give me 1 second. So yeah, we're gonna look at these scenes here. We can talk about them as we go along. Well, we can be a little quiet and like some of these play out and talk afterwards. So yeah, whatever works. So let's just do this first one. This is the opening sequence of the 1978 film of Halloween. So with the eerie music and all that good stuff. So here we go. Let's do it. Oh, you might. Can you tell me? Can you hear the audio of this? The crickets?
No.
It's probably. Oh, you might have to unmute my my Twitch if you have Twitch open, because it's gonna be because I'm on Zoom with you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's see here.
My parents won't be home until 10. Are you sure?
We are alone, aren't we?
Michael's around someplace. Take off that thing.
Let's go upstairs.
Okay. Hands are clean.
So haunting.
Yeah, it's just that eerie melody, and this that first person perspective here is what I love. It's just it's so simple, but it's so great the way they did it.
Look, Judy, it's really late. I gotta go.
Will you call me tomorrow?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just love that long note hold of that. It's just that constant hold here, just very tension building, coming up to his sister's room. It's just like, oh man. Not to be raunchy here, but that guy, if they had sex, that was very fast.
I was gonna say, I was wondering, why are you chuckling there, Dylan?
Because he can't. They went upstairs, and it was like a minute later. He's like, "All right, I'm gone. Put my shirt back on."
Oh my goodness.
Classic. That's perfect timing. Parents just arrive home.
Michael?
There he is.
Michael needs a haircut.
Wow.
I feel like it's like it's a great sequence though. And the music pan, the pan of the pan out camera.
Well, everything about this, man. Like, if you want to say, like, okay, what's gonna engage you? Like, when you watch a movie, right? You kind of have to have a hook.
Mm-hmm.
That is a hook. That's like a hook to end all hooks. Yeah. Again, when I was a kid, one of my friends, I was in the fourth grade, I guess, and one of my classmates was describing that whole sequence to me, and
Yeah.
it really like captured my imagination. So I'd never seen that scene until I was quite a bit older, but I had been described to me, and so I had this my own vision of what that looked like, and it was very haunting and horrifying.
Yeah.
But then when you take that perspective, first person perspective, you're like, who is this? If you don't know the twist at the
Right.
end, it's a little boy, which I'm sure if you were seeing that for the first time,
Yeah, you think it's like
well,
a
that's quite a twist. Like, whoa, wait, what?
yeah, it's a shock.
A
It's a
little
shock.
kid?
Yeah. No, it's
Hmm.
it's yeah. It's like I said. I love that whole sequence because it's just like just to your point right there, and just the way it's shot, the music, the build, everything. Going up to his sister's room, and then it's just a senseless. It's just like pure evil, just murder. Walk out. Parents come home, see him, and it's just boom, pan out, and it's like that's how we get to see like this is what this is gonna be about. Like, here we go.
Yes.
I always make my mom laugh just for funny shits and giggles. Like I said, I love that sequence. It's one of my favorites. But I always make her laugh whenever when Judith turns around and she sees Michael and she goes, "Michael!"
You little brat.
Yeah,
That-
you little shit. You little shit.
That voice, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Michael.
no, that to me is, I never had an older sister, but if I did, I'm sure she would have talked to me like that.
She goes, Sam.
Mm.
I just like it's funny. I think the fun fact I read too is that when he's stabbing, the noise is they actually were to create that effect. They were stabbing into watermelon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
how they did the sound for it, was stabbing into watermelon. So I'm like, that's pretty
It
good.
works, man.
Yeah, it works.
It's
It
very
works.
effective. Again, the sound effects are and the soundtrack really make this movie. It's an assault on all of your senses. So you have, and the whole time those synths, like I think you mentioned as we were watching the clip, it's the sustained note,
Right.
and a lot of the time, you get that pulse later, the do, 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 do,
Yep.
do, do. But right there, it's just this long,
Yeah.
very eerie. This is his mind. This is his body. It's like a flat line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the humanity in him, right?
Right.
Everyone else has the tick, 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 tick. That
Yeah,
that
that beat.
theme is for everyone else who's running away from this man. So
I like that. No, I love that you bring that up. That it's kind of, now that you say that, I kind of like think of that differently now, because yeah, that music that's played, the classic theme, the da 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 da, like that's when they're running from Michael, this and that. But then that beginning sequence we see there, like you said, it sounds like a flat line. It's just like a straight one note the whole way up the stair, the whole way through the house, up the stairs. We get the ominous, like, the lights go out, the da da da, and then he's like, it's like that piano, bum bum bum.
Oh yeah.
Boom,
Very
like that.
minimalistic.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it's so effective. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's just so creepy. So Binkus said when I was doing the impression of Judith, he says, "Sounds like she's telling him to come eat supper." Michael, supper.
There's one voice. It's always at that level. That kind of
It's always
shrill,
yeah. It's always
yelling
shrill.
across the room, yelling
Yeah.
down the stairs.
Yeah, it's always shrill. Oh god. I had my beer there, so hydrate. I definitely gotta hydrate more, Jake. All right, so let's take a look at another clip here. Let me transition back to the other screen here. We'll transition to the next scene. we'll take a look at. So this scene, another one of my favorites. This is the car sequence where Michael is stalking. This is gonna be when he's stalking Lori and the girls, and he's hiding behind the bush playing hide and go peekaboo. So, so here we go. Let's take a look. You're like, damn it. I'm just like killing some of these scenes for you. You're like, God damn it, Dylan.
Dylan. Dylan, me.
Here we go.
Books anyway. I don't need books. I always forget all my books. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you have your books or not. Hey, isn't that Devon Graham?
I don't think so.
I just love how he's staring at her when he's going by.
Cute.
So creepy.
Hey, jerk. Speed kill.
Hard stop.
You know, Annie, someday you're gonna get us all into deep trouble.
Scary.
Totally. I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor. Well, are we still on for tonight?
But yeah, like despite all the fact they did do a great job at hiding that this is California. Wherever this was shot, I can't remember what neighborhood, but I know there's areas in California that have these dense green tree neighborhoods like this in some areas, but
It's only 3 houses down. We can keep
they did a good job at like really masking that, so it makes you feel like you're in Illinois.
Oh, sure. It's definitely an older neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, here comes that slow riff piano.
Okay, yeah, I can hear it. Ah, it's so good, man.
Yeah, that's just that subtle thing where you're unsure. It's just that feeling that you feel like you're being watched. You feel like someone's watching you always. You're looking over your shoulder. You're curious. It's like this weird, ominous music.
What time tonight? I don't know yet. Have to get out of taking my little brother trick or treat. Treats for Bob. Funny. See ya. Bye. Bye.
It's so good. It's just so fucking creepy. Ah.
look where? Behind the bush.
And again, that question of the natural, supernatural versus just a human being. Because, yeah, while they were talking for a minute here,
Subtle, isn't
she goes there and he's completely gone. Like, it's just like,
Hey, creep.
Lori,
Hmm.
dear.
That's right.
he wants to talk to you, Lori, dear.
Take you out tonight.
So good. We'll pause it there, though. We'll cut that. Yeah, so that scene.
It's interesting how that starts too, because having a guy in a station wagon going around the neighborhood stalking some high schoolers is something that I'm sure happens on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have creeps like that everywhere, and
Yeah.
so that element of Michael Myers, him kind of like, well, that's pretty realistic. That's believable.
Right.
But then, as you mentioned, he pops out of the bushes. Okay, that's also relatively realistic. But then, where is he?
Yeah. Um,
Um,
yeah, no, I was gonna say yeah, like that scene of the ominous music, it's like someone's watching you, and then then we get to that scene where she looks up and he's standing behind the bush and he's just staring at her, and it's like, then we ask that question, how is it, how he moves so fast. It's like, and I'm like I said, I love the scene. I love just making jokes about it, but I love it to death, and I just pick on it for fun with you because we like to shoot the shit. But in my head, I imagine when Michael stepped behind the bush very slowly, and Lori stopped, that he took off sprinting. He's just running, get away. She's not gonna see me. But no, it's just something about that, like that. It's just like that's probably happening. That kind of stuff, like everywhere, like that creepy stalker, like, ugh, like, and stuff like that,
yeah, that certainly is drawn from real life experience,
Yeah.
right? So it's just an interesting question, you know. I mean, that's part of writing a story,
Hmm.
when you have your characters, and again, a lot of these slasher villains, some are very, you know, mythological. You know, like you could go to Freddy Krueger,
Yeah.
who is, you know, some sort of, you know, sleep demon, or
Yeah. The sleep
like
demon.
a succubus.
Yep.
Or you can, on the other end, you have Leatherface, who is heavily drawn from Ed Gein, who also influenced
Hmm.
Norman Bates
Yep.
and
Yeah.
various other characters. You know, him dressing up as his mother, and of course, a lot of these serial killers. You know, also guys like Ed Kemper.
Ed Kemper.
They
Yeah.
had these. You know, they had mommy issues,
Hmm.
and this was a deciding factor in, you know. So to be honest, we don't really know much about his backstory. Again, Rob Zombie tried to
Tell that.
get
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think though that Michael Myers is almost devoid of this because maybe we'll touch on this later, but he seems to have a lot of superhuman traits and qualities,
Mm.
strength.
Yeah.
He's unmatched, untouchable. He can't go down. You get him once he's down, he gets right
Right
back
back
up
up. Yep.
again. And of course, then we know how the movie ends.
Yeah.
But so again,
Crazy.
where is the supernatural? Where is the supernatural in this? Because I think at least in this film, it's a bit ambiguous. Like you could almost argue that there is no supernatural.
Right. Yeah,
So
I think that's like the theme of this too, of this whole discussion too, is like we kind of keep going back and forth with that because it is something that's it's like I've seen that question tossed around about this movie a lot with just with Michael's character, like you said, how like, all the supernatural elements he kind of possesses, invulnerability, strength, like essentially teleportation to a degree. Like,
that's right. Yeah,
I mean,
is he omnipresent?
yeah,
You know, is it? Yeah, it's a good question, and I
yeah,
think what makes this movie good again is yeah, it we can have these discussions about it because it's not so clear cut.
yeah, yeah. My sister, she actually said we need a horror killer based off of Eileen Wuornos. Um,
Wasn't that a movie though, like
I think there,
Monster?
I think Monster was based off of that. Yeah. Well, they made a movie based off of that. Based off Eileen
Oh,
Wuornos.
it
Yeah.
was her though,
It was
wasn't
like
like
yeah, not like a killer based on her. My sister also said to my she was directing this to my mom, but I just quick note here is she said you should watch the new Hellraiser. It's better than the old one.
oh
Uh,
hell no.
I don't think it'd
I
be
don't believe
better.
that for a second.
Yeah, I don't think it's better than the old one, but I did like it a lot. I did enjoy it.
Was it really good?
Yeah, it was good, man. It was actually it brings it honestly, man. It was we can talk about that another night. Like I'd love for you to watch it to see what you think. And I know it's the whole
Yeah, I'll watch it.
it's the female Pinhead and
Oh, is it?
yeah,
Okay.
it's the female Pinhead and but yeah, it's interesting. Like what I liked, it did bring back the old. It definitely used the old music score, which I really appreciated. Like brought back that and like just kind of up touched it a bit. And it felt really great. Like I liked it. I liked the gore. Like it was definitely stayed true to the gory roots of like Pinhead and the suffering and torture, blah 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 of that movie, and like the box, and you get to learn a bit more of the history of the box, like the configurations of it and stuff. So, but let's save that. That's gonna be we'll get too deep in the woods with that weeds with that one. I mean,
Yeah, and I do want to say this. One thing about Hellraiser,
yeah,
that it is not the Pinhead movie.
yeah,
It is the movie does not revolve around Pinhead.
no, no,
The movie revolves around this couple having an affair,
hmm
and of course, the woman
her
resurrects
uncle
her
or
deceased lover,
yeah,
and she is truly the real monster.
yep,
Pinhead and the Cenobites are they are kind of giving just desserts to people that are carrying out this sort of behavior. They're asking for it.
right,
So I think it's a good question. Again, I do want to talk
yeah,
about
that'd be great.
Hellraiser.
No,
The
that'd be great.
real monster is this couple that are murdering people so that he can get his body back because
Yeah,
he's like dust, and then she resurrects him by murdering men. She lures back to the home. So that's where the true horror in Hellraiser lies. And then the Cenobites, you can almost argue, are sort of heroic.
Yeah.
So I don't know much about this new one.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said it's a female Pinhead. Of course, there were female Cenobites as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. There's female. Yeah, and yeah. You have to, like I said, it's on Hulu right now. So I don't know if there's a way you can watch that. I don't have Hulu, so I mean, a friend of mine let me watch it through there. So, but let me know if you find a way to get a hold of it because it's
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Like I definitely wasn't like I wasn't really like I enjoyed the story. I was like I was pretty and I was pretty I was cool with it. I didn't really like think anything was hokey or bullshit. So I was like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, but anyways, let's go to another clip. Let's go. Let's keep on our Halloween grind here. Let's take a look at the next clip. The next clip I'm pulling up is going to be before I transition. It's the sequence now that I love with Dr. Loomis when they go into Michael's home and they're looking around, and this is when he finally explains to Chief Brackett about Michael, like when he first met him, and the void of darkness and nothing in his eyes and devoid of all life and just soulless that we've been talking about throughout this whole stream. And one thing I just wanted to point out too is I caught this fun fact on IMDb that the story of this movie, apparently I didn't even know this, isn't it? That was based on an experience that John Carpenter had in college. He was touring a psychiatric hospital and he met a child who stared at him with a look of evil, and it terrified me, he said. So, which is interesting because I did not know that one. So I thought that's pretty cool.
Wow. No, I did not know that either.
So yeah, let's go check out this one with Loomis in it. So I'll transition to the clip here, and we'll give it a watch. Let's see, pull it up. There it is. Let's wind it up, and here we go. I just kind of skipped ahead a bit.
You must think me a very sinister doctor. Oh, I do have a permit.
Seems to me you're just plain scared.
Yes, yeah, I am. I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
What do we do?
He's been here once tonight. I think he'll come back. I'm gonna wait for him.
I still think I should notify the radio and television.
No. If you do that, they'll see him in every street corner. They'll look for him in every house. Just tell your men to keep their mouths shut and their eyes open.
I'll check back in an hour.
There we go. So
Well, that's his explanation, and I think we are. 1 second.
oh yeah, I'm just transitioning. There we go.
Okay, so that's the good doctor's explanation, and I think we should heed his warning and his words. But I think a good question out of that, again, we're talking about supernatural versus, okay, this is just a man, a Homo sapien.
Yeah.
But he's very explicit in saying pure evil, the devil's eyes.
Yeah.
Now, is he speaking metaphorically?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's yeah, like I always love that because the devil's eye is lifeless, pale, nothing there, void. Like this, just like is he something more? Again, that question like you said. So it's I always like that always gave me chills when I first watched the movie when I was younger. Like just that because again that music plays, that subtle piano music, and he explains to Michael, and it just gave me chills because there's nothing. There's no mercy. There's no empathy, sympathy. It's a human. What we think is a human being, void of everything, void of anything, only out for one thing, and that's blood and murder. And that's what it was. Just very creepy and very well done. If Donald Pleasance was drunk during that scene, God bless that man, because he pulled that line off really well.
He would never have known that. I mean,
I know
that's quite the factoid.
Right.
I did want to mention something about him being this doctor who is
Yeah.
after the monster. In a lot of horror movies, you have a doctor who's like the mad doctor, the mad scientist,
Hmm.
who is kind of behind the evil in a way, or who is kind of possessed, who himself is in a way possessed by the evil or whatever that may represent through the monster. The movie that's referenced in the movie that we see in Halloween that the kids are watching is The Thing from Another World,
Yeah.
and they have a monster who's also devoid of all humanity. Well, it's an alien,
Yeah.
so obviously you're not asking for that from an alien. But there is, interestingly enough, in it you have a doctor who's working. So they're in the North Pole, and what happens is there's a UFO that crash lands. Spoiler alert. I'm sorry. It came out in 1951, but spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Spoilers.
There's a UFO that crash lands near this military outpost in the North Pole. When they go to investigate, they find a block of ice. The ice thaws, and out comes this monster. Well, there's a scientist that's working at the compound, and he is totally against them killing this thing. Every time they bring out the guns, he says, "You better put those things down in the name of science." And at one point, he goes up to the monster. This is like the climactic scene. They have the thing pinned down. They figured out a way to kill it. And he goes up to it and he tries to reason with it, tries to speak to some sort of logic and humanity. He's like, you're much better than the intelligence here. You could, he really wants to get down to this thing's level, and it just boom, hits him across the shoulder, the stomach, and sends him flying. So it's interesting that how heavily referenced that movie is because again, I'm sure it was sort of an influence, but the roles of the doctors are sort of reversed, where in The Thing, we have, maybe we could call Halloween The Shape,
Hmm.
but in The Thing, the Mad Doctor is trying to save the creature's life, and then of course our doctor in in Halloween with The Shape, the doctor is of course trying to hunt the the devil-eyed creature down.
No, I love that. That's a perfect comparison of the two films, especially that they, like you said, they're watching the movie in the movie in Halloween. So that's a great comparison. I love that. Good point, Sam. Yeah, that's what my mom said. I'm like, yeah, and that's pretty good. So no, it's yeah, it's funny. Loomis, yeah, Loomis's goal is to hunt them down, and the vice versa, and opposite from the original thing. So, and then it's funny because then what the new remake of the thing is the one after that with Carpenter was they're all trying to end it. I mean, they're trying to study it, but they're also trying to end it until the one doctor gets, spoiler alert, gets taken over by the monster. So by the alien, gets killed by it. So, but anyways, no, great point. Let's take a look at the last clip I got here. The last Halloween clip is the closing, kind of towards the closing of the movie. Or the movie here. This is the one of the last. I didn't put the finale sequence, so obviously, spoiler alert. The finale is the big ending with Loomis and Michael. We'll talk about that after this clip, though. So let's pull this up first, and we'll go to that. So this is one of the last scenes. Oops, yeah, there we go. One of the last scenes with Laurie and Michael in it. So let's take a gander here.
Yep.
See if this is up here. Okay, is this showing? There we go. Okay, here we go. I mean, I can imagine people that were watching this in the 70s were probably freaking screaming, panicking, like just the anxiety and terror, just sheer terror. Oh, jeez. Oh. And I love you hear him like deep breathing as he's hitting. He's like, "Rah, rah," you know, that deep breathing from Michael. She's so smart. Ah, so good.
Well, he must be down for the count.
Clearly he's dead. Very clearly he's out. Yeah, see, it's a 10. That's a 10 count if I hadn't seen one. Yeah, I think that's where the scene cuts. So, yeah, that's where
That's
that.
where the scene cuts, but definitely not where it ends.
Right? Freaking out, my mom said. Yeah. No, I'm sure everyone was freaking out when they watched that for the first time. I mean, it was terrifying. And, it's funny because I know I've seen it somewhere, but there's definitely clips from other either shows or movies where, like, they're in a theater and Halloween is playing on the screen and there's like they're panicking in the theater, everyone's jumping and screaming. I know I've seen it in other movies that they reference that, which is really great. That's how you know you made it. Your movie is that big when you're in another movie.
Oh,
But yeah, like that scene, I just love too how it's shot from the perspective of in the closet with Lori. You have one camera angled in there at her perspective, Michael punching through. You hear the deep breathing, and the light comes on. The light coming on was awesome. Like it made that lighting look really just. It just made it add to the creepy factor because you finally get to see his face full lit and the bright mask, and you see his eyes, and you see and all of it coming together was just. It was fucking terrifying. So.
Yes.
I just loved how they filmed it, loved how they shot it. Thought it was really well done in that sequence and really a good kind of climax to the closing parts of the film there. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting, like you said, it's well lit there for that split second,
Yeah.
and it's like you see his mask illuminated, like in a lot of the movies, a lot of slasher films especially, the big reveal is when the mask comes off.
Mm-hmm.
But here, we know what his face looks like. We know he's a human. So when he comes into frame there, th what we really see, the true reveal is maybe his true face, which is not his, flesh and blood face that he was born with, but this mask has become the his true form,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like putting a spotlight on that. This is the monster. This is the boogeyman right there, and that's a pretty. It's quite scary because you it's been so the scene is filled with all of these shadows and
Mm-hmm.
it's really in the dark. So when you put the spotlight on him there, yeah, it is quite scary. And maybe there's other reasons for that. The mask itself, um, it kind of lacking human definition,
Mm-hmm.
makes it quite yeah intimidating. So there's a lot going on there, but it's yeah, that's a classic scene for sure.
Yeah, and then of course, spoiler alert, but the ending sequence of like Lori, we see her and Michael sits up in the background with that music hits again, and we get a quick glimpse of, and I didn't pull that clip. I should have probably pulled that one, but we get the quick glimpse of Michael without his mask on as an adult, like in the face, and he pulls it back on. And the moment he pulls the mask back on at the end is when Loomis, sees him and he shoots him, and Michael's just standing there, and Loomis hits him with about 4 to 5 more shots, and Michael goes flying off the balcony.
Goes out.
Yeah, and then you just see the camera pans up and you see Michael on the ground lying there, and I love that final line from Lori was that the boogeyman? And then and Loomis is, as a matter of fact, that was, and I love that. Like, that last bit, and I love when Loomis goes out, and it's just a great way to cut the film. He goes out, looks over the balcony, Michael's gone, and then the music hits, and then it goes to pan shot. It just goes to camera still shots of the house, and that's it. And that's how the movie fades to black, which is he's out there still. He's not dead. So I just thought that was such a brilliant way to close it out, and it left it open. It was just so creepy and scary, and he's still alive. You're like, how could this be possible? And just a fun fact too. I know we've talked about this in the past, but I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I did once when we were talking about it when I was on the hype train of Stranger Things when it was out this past summer. But the guys who do Stranger Things are real big horror fans, and they always incorporate some sort of aspect from horror movies, like from classics like Halloween, Hellraiser, Friday the 13th, everything. But yeah, there's a sequence where I'm not gonna say because I still want you to watch it because it's such a good show. That there's a sequence where they reference that whole ending of Halloween, like they blatantly reference it. So with the Michael, like the falling out, monster falling out and on the ground, gets up, moves, and it's not there. So it was a direct Halloween reference, which I thought was awesome. I was like, nice little nod. So, but yeah. But any final thoughts for you on the closing sequence of the film? What's your feelings of it?
Yeah, it's like, doesn't it set itself up perfectly for a sequel? Even though I think, man, it could have just ended there. We're
Yeah.
done. Legendary film. It doesn't need anything else to say. Really, really doesn't. It doesn't need a sequel. But it does lend itself to having a sequel because look, he's still alive somehow. And again, we don't need a real explanation. If he says he's the boogeyman. So if he is this indomitable monster, well, yeah, you could have movies to the end of time. It's just that his victims, of course, are not invincible, right? So I guess it's the strange thing where Lori became intertwined with the story as well, where they brought her back, and of course, bringing her back means you'd have to reboot the films, which is what they've done. So I think a sequel is fine. Reboots, they can be done well. Like you have reimaginings. The Thing by John Carpenter is a reimagining
Yeah.
as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can tell when you have a reimagining like John Carpenter's The Thing,
Yeah.
it's its own deal. It's its own. It draws more heavily. I haven't read it, but it draws heavily from a novella called Who Goes There?
Okay.
And so it's less like the 1951 film, but it pays homage to it as well.
Yeah.
So you have to balance those things. Of course, like you said, like Stranger Things paying homage to Halloween or Hellraiser and these things, that's great, and we want to see that as horror fans.
Yeah.
But we also want to have originality,
Of course.
and we want to have a fresh story, and we want to have something that is familiar but also novel. And of course, I'm just, these are all just wishes of someone who passively enjoys this content.
Yeah.
So I don't want to act like, be so demanding. I know how much hard work goes into making a film and all.
Yeah.
So obviously, we're not just robots that can like produce the whims of some horror nerd.
Right. No, yeah, it's a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work and effort goes into some of these films that we either talk high praise of or we just shit on. Like, but
yeah, and I would like, I'd rather not shit on things. You
True.
can just look the other way, right?
Right.
But again, that's why this film is so compelling, as far as just like how it got made in 20 days in springtime, against all odds.
Yeah.
It should have been just some generic kind of like B movie.
It shouldn't have
but
been
it
this way.
wasn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been this successful.
So who knows? We're talking about Michael Myers, his humanity versus his supernatural qualities. Maybe there is a supernatural hand guiding this film because
Right.
it really is something special.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I did want to, pull out one more clip here that I want to show you as a surprise. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a good little parody clip that I found, and I reminded me of it. So let me pull it here for you to give you a good little smile and chuckle, especially for Chad who hasn't seen this clip. Let me get it there. So pulling it up here, and the screen's a little black. So this Halloween parody, I saw this a couple years ago. This popped up on my feed. I forget where, but I thought it was ridiculous, and I loved it. I was like, whoever made this gets an award. So here we go. Let me see. Oh, okay.
All right. Oh. Oh no. Oh, okay. That's a twist. Put him in his place.
Yeah, he's like, this is my movie. Just keep staring.
Playing cards. Oh, that's the thing that did it. Oh, there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, and then he goes, I had this clip up on accident, but I think I pulled it up. It was the scene I told about the pumpkin. Where's he? Here we go. The only pumpkin they had.
So this is the orange painted gourd.
No, this was the one pumpkin they had. This was the actual one that they got. That they used to get squashed. Boogeyman. Boom.
I mean, was that completely necessary?
I know.
He had one pumpkin,
I know.
and you gave it to this kid.
To squash. Da, da. It's so great. See, now I want to go watch this and just watch it full through again. I'm probably gonna end up watching it this week or weekend. I think my mom made a funny point too. I think it was my mom or someone who we talked about this. Let me transition back here. I thought it was funny that how did Michael learn how to drive a car? He must have been studying how to drive a car in the penitentiary for 8 years.
No, he had a lot of free time.
He did have a lot of free time. A lot of free time. It's like how when Danny Trejo was the prison guard and the Rob Zombie one, and he's like, "Hey, Mikey, I was good to you, Mikey." Like Danny Trejo was like the innocent guard who was watching over Michael. Oh, so funny.
Oh, Rob Zombie has a twisted sense of humor, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Absolutely. But yeah, man, I think that that's kind of a wrap for Halloween 1978 for us. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a good film. It's a good film. It's all right.
It's okay. We were only talking.
Almost 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, like almost close to 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's an okay film. So no, yeah, that was. I hope y'all in chat enjoyed it. My mom said great first show. I hope y'all who were chilling and lurking enjoyed it. And had fun. We want to plan on doing these type of kind of discussions and chats, ongoing for the next streams. I'm gonna set time aside with Sam, and my sister loved it. Yeah, we're gonna set time aside and talk about different shows, different movies, and of course WWE, because we are we're big wrestling fans, so we have a lot to talk about there. So I do want to bring on special guests to join Sam and I. My sister, she said she wants to do this with us. I said absolutely. My sister she's a big horror fan. She's big in the movies. She works in the industry, so she could definitely provide some really good insight into different films. So we'll bring her on one night for we'll pick another good classic horror film we could talk about, or something funny or whatever. We'll figure something out. Firefly says woohoo. So yeah, it was good. I think so for our next one we want to try to talk about The Boys. We want to talk about the TV show The Boys, but that's going to be a bit of a deeper dive. So that's going to be a bit of a longer one because we want to discuss. We're going to try to talk about the seasons 1, 2, and 3. We'll try to kind of condense it to the best we can and talk about certain pieces of the 1, 2, and 3. Sam's going to be more knowledgeable in that end of, because you've read the comics, right? You've read more of the books. You've read some of those. Yeah, you've read more of the novels.
Touched on it.
You've touched on them, okay? Because I need to start looking into more of those myself. I think we're gonna try to do one more, at least for the Halloween, another review. Maybe towards the latter half of this month, maybe next week or potentially the week before Halloween. We'll try to set time aside if we can and do another talk show. Sam put down Dawn of the Dead, which would be good to talk about the original 1978 Romero. So we can discuss that. Homelander, you should critique The Walking Dead. Yeah, I mean, I would talk about the first 4 seasons because that's as far as I got. After that, I gave up because it got really dumb. But we can look into that one. We'd bring you on, Mom. We could bring you on for that one. We can bring on a couple
Maybe
people.
we could do a whole zombie themed talk.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we can do
all the other ones, everything.
Yeah, we could do a zombie chat. Talk about the zombie genre like as a whole. That'd be fun. You can do Dawn of the Dead. That's a lot to talk about. Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, the original and the remake. Night of the Living Dead.
And of
the
course,
original.
You have the Italian zombie films. You have Lucio Fulci.
Yep.
So yeah,
there's a lot to discuss. Night of the Living Dead, my mom said. Yep. Yeah, there's a ton of movies we can discuss and throw in that mix. So.
And thank you for mentioning Night of the Living Dead. Before we started this, Dylan reminded me, hey, maybe you could mention your top 3 horror films of all time.
Yeah.
And so I thought about it, and Night of the Living Dead is definitely in my top 3.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a true classic, one of the greatest. And my sister, I know I told you this, but my sister does have a full in her apartment, in her place. She has a full the original Night of the Living Dead poster signed by Romero to her. So yeah, she met him and got it signed.
That's
so
a keepsake.
yeah, that's like a legendary piece. Yeah, legendary piece of work she's got there. So from the man himself, lives in Pittsburgh. So. Yeah, I think we'll definitely talk. You and I will off stream it. I'm smoking cigars with Tom Savini coming up.
Oh, she's just rubbing it in.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Yeah, you're gonna make Sam jealous. You're rubbing it in. That's badass. You get to chill with Tom Savini. And my photo with George. Yeah, she has a photo with George Romero. So that's super cool. Yeah, you have to send me that and take a picture of that, and then we can post it in Discord. Sorry guys. Yeah, send me a picture of send me the picture of you and George Romero so I can show Sam. But yeah, she loves horror. She's real big in it. Just my family's all horror, so we're all big horror dweebs. Some of the movies I want to definitely talk about. We'll definitely keep horror as a good genre for us to talk about. We can do the zombies. We can do look into Ari Aster as a director from Hereditary, Midsommar. There's a lot of stuff we can do. So we'll definitely offline talk about it and try to figure another time to do this. We'll try to bring on my sister or other guests I'm going to talk to. We'll this is our first time doing this, so I loved it. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was just nice and chill. My mom said Insidious. I actually just had my mom watch Insidious for the first time. She was terrified.
All right.
Yeah, I said, yeah, it's a good James Wan film. So, so we can, it was fun. I'm going to fine tune stuff on the stream here and we'll keep it pushing forward. But, I think with that, if you want to hang on before signing off, I'll sign off stream here, but you can stay on the call here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can stay on the call.
Well.
So you can say, say your piece, my friend, and we'll sign off.
Well, that was definitely peace out, and that was a good, very good first episode. If we don't say so ourselves.
That's right.
It was fun, really fun, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. So for myself, Dylan, CTG, and from the man himself, Sam, Mr. Chillstorm. For providing amazing commentary throughout this entire stream here. We will be back with another podcast review sometime. We'll keep you posted on what that'll be. Please join Discord if you're not in it. Use / Discord in my chat. I will put it in there, so I will keep you up to date there, or follow me on Twitter. Either way, I always post when we go live. So, until then, I will see you guys next time. We put on some good old music to see us out here, and you guys have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.